The wind was cold and dry on the surface of planet Xylon 9. Dark clouds covered the sky, and the ground was filled with sharp black stones that glowed faintly under the alien sun. A human explorer named Captain Ryan Walker stepped carefully between the ruins of what looked like an ancient alien temple. His breathing echoed inside his helmet as he whispered to himself. No one has ever been here before. He had come to Xylon 9 searching for lost technology, something that could help rebuild Earth after decades of war. His ship had detected strange energy waves coming from deep under the planet's surface. Now he stood in front of a massive door, covered with silver markings and glowing runes that pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. The air around it felt alive, almost watching him. Ryan touched the surface with his gloved hand. It was warm, even though the air was freezing. A voice from his wrist computer spoke softly. Warning, unknown energy detected. Entry not recommended. Ryan smiled slightly and said, Yeah. I never listened to warnings. He began searching for a way to open the door. His flashlight reflected off strange symbols shaped like eyes and wings. One symbol looked like a crown, and when he pressed it, the door released a low hum that made the ground shake. Dust fell from the ceiling and the silver light grew brighter. Suddenly, the massive door began to move. Sliding open with a deep metallic sound, behind it was only darkness, thick and heavy like smoke. Ryan took a deep breath, adjusted his helmet light, and stepped inside. The moment he crossed the line, the door closed silently behind him. The light from his helmet showed a long hallway filled with statues. Each statue looked different, but all shared one feature. Tall, graceful bodies with long arms and faces that were almost human but not quite. Their eyes seemed to follow him as he walked. A strange sound echoed through the corridor. A low whisper. He turned quickly, shining his light everywhere. But there was no one. His heart started to beat faster, yet something inside him pushed him to go deeper. At the end of the hallway, he saw another door, smaller but glowing with a deep blue color. Unlike the first one, this door seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting gently. He reached out his hand, and before he could touch it, the door opened on its own. A wave of warm air hit him, filled with a soft fragrance like flowers and fire. He stepped inside and froze. The room before him was enormous, stretching high like a cathedral. At the center was a throne, carved from black stone, surrounded by silver roots that pulsed with light. The air shimmered with energy, and the walls glowed faintly with alien symbols. Ryan whispered, "The throne room." But he didn't finish the thought because he suddenly heard a sound. A heartbeat. Slow and powerful, it was not his. The throne itself began to move, and from the shadows behind it something stood up. A tall figure with smooth metallic blue skin, long white hair that floated like mist, and eyes that burned like twin moons. Ryan stepped back, his light trembling. The figure looked straight at him and spoke, and not with sound, but directly into his mind. Human. You should not be here. The voice was calm but carried power that made his knees weak. Ryan tried to speak, but no words came out. His computer began to beep rapidly, detecting unknown life energy at extreme levels. The figure stepped closer, her feet not touching the ground. Her silver gown flowed like liquid light. Her eyes studied him as if she was looking through his soul. You broke the seal of eternity, she said slowly. You entered the forbidden throne room of the Celestara Queen. Ryan finally found his voice. I didn't know, he said. The Queen tilted her head slightly, her expression unreadable. Then to his shock she smiled, and a small, mysterious smile that both frightened and fascinated him. Few have ever dared, she said, but none have survived. The air around them changed. Heavy with invisible power, the statues in the hall began to glow softly. Their eyes opening one by one, Ryan took a step back, realizing that they were not statues at all. They were guardians awakening. The Queen raised her hand, and the movement froze them in place. Her gaze returned to Ryan. Tell me, human, she whispered, why have you come? Ryan swallowed hard. His mind raced for an answer, but his heart whispered something else, something that felt ancient. He didn't come for power or glory. He came because he was searching for something beyond stars and a meaning, a connection. I came to understand, he said quietly. For a moment there was silence. Then the Queen's eyes glowed brighter, and she whispered one word. Then you shall. The ground shook as the throne's roots spread across the floor. Glowing like rivers of light, the chamber itself seemed to awaken, and Ryan felt the air press against his skin. He didn't know it yet, But the moment he stepped into that room, the fate of all humanity had already changed. For a long moment, everything was silent inside the throne room. Only the faint hum of energy filled the air, rising and falling like a heartbeat that belonged to the room itself. Ryan stood still, his breathing slow and shallow, afraid that even one sound might break whatever strange balance existed here. The Queen's silver hair moved as if touched by an invisible wind, her eyes glowing brighter with every breath she took. Then she lifted her hand, and the air around her shimmered like water touched by light. The roots of her throne began to pulse, feeding energy into her body. A radiant glow spread from her chest, running along her arms and into her fingers. The walls of the chamber reacted, symbols lighting up one by one, forming patterns across the ceiling like a map of stars. Ryan could not look away. It was like watching a goddess wake from 1,000 years of sleep. Every motion was slow but filled with power. He could feel her energy crawling through the air, brushing against his skin like static electricity. The voice in his helmet tried to speak but kept cutting out, unable to process the strange energy field surrounding them. Finally, the Queen opened her mouth and her voice flowed into his mind again. "Your world still lives," she said softly, her tone more curious than angry. Ryan nodded slowly, still unable to find the right words. The Queen took a few steps closer, her bare feet gliding over the glowing floor, leaving trails of silver light behind. "Then the stars have not forgotten," she whispered half to herself. She raised her eyes toward the ceiling as if listening to something far away. Then she looked back at him, her gaze piercing through him like a blade. "Tell me, human, what age is this and what brought you to my sacred throne?" Ryan hesitated. He wanted to tell her everything, about the wars, the dying Earth, the desperate search for alien technology. But something about her presence made him choose his words carefully. "I came searching for power," he said slowly, "not to harm, but to help my people survive." The Queen tilted her head, her expression unreadable. "Power," she repeated, the word echoing inside his mind like thunder. "That is always how it begins." She walked past him and stopped near one of the glowing statues. Her fingers brushed against it, and the stone turned into living flesh for an instant. Revealing the face of a warrior trapped in time, Ryan gasped, realizing these statues were not carved. They were beings frozen by her will. The Queen looked at him again, her eyes filled with old pain. "They too came seeking power," she said quietly. "And they paid the price." Ryan took a cautious step forward, his voice trembling slightly. "Are they dead?" "Worse," she said. "They remember everything but cannot move, cannot speak, cannot die." He felt a chill go down his spine. The Queen turned to him fully now, her face calm but her energy burning brighter. "Yet you, a human, walk freely in my chamber," she said. "That should be impossible." Ryan didn't know what to say. Maybe it was luck or destiny or something written in the stars long before he was born. But one thing was clear. The Queen did not plan to destroy him. Not yet. Instead, she looked curious, almost intrigued. The throne behind her began to pulse again, and the blue light filled the chamber. Images flashed in Ryan's mind, vast alien cities, ships as large as moons, wars fought in silence among the stars. He saw her ruling a mighty empire, her people kneeling before her, their eyes full of devotion and fear. Then everything burned and the vision ended in darkness. The Queen's voice returned, softer now. "I ruled over 10,000 worlds," she said, "until betrayal ended all that I built." She looked at him with eyes full of centuries of sorrow. "I was sealed here by my own kind," she said, "and now a human breaks the seal." Ryan's heart pounded. He didn't know if he was supposed to feel guilty or honored. "Maybe it was fate," he said quietly. Her expression softened, the faintest smile touching her lips. "Fate," she whispered, "or something far greater." The light around the throne dimmed slightly, and the Queen sat down again. She raised her hand, and a beam of soft light surrounded Ryan. He felt warmth spread through his chest. Clearing his thoughts, "You will not die," she said. "You are under my protection now." Ryan looked around, confused. "Protection? From what?" he asked. The Queen's eyes flickered with silver fire. "From the ones who will come," she said. "They will feel that I have awakened, and they will not forgive it." A low rumble shook the floor, dust falling from the ceiling. Ryan's computer blared alarms. Multiple life signals detected approaching fast from beneath the surface. The Queen stood again, her face now fierce and regal. "It begins," she said, "the war you brought with you. Human, Ryan gripped his weapon tightly. The Queen extended her hand toward him. "Stay near me," she commanded, "and maybe, just maybe, you will survive what comes next." The throne room burst into blinding light. Ryan felt the ground disappear beneath him as waves of energy surged through the walls. He had no idea what he had unleashed, but he knew one thing for sure. The alien queen was awake and the universe would never be the same again. The light inside the throne room faded slowly, leaving a silver glow that painted every wall and statue with ghostly beauty. Ryan stood near the base of the queen's throne, his heart still racing after the shock of her awakening. He could feel the air trembling with power, and yet deep down, there was something else, a strange calm. It was as if the universe itself had paused to listen. The queen watched him silently, her eyes reflecting the stars that glowed on the ceiling. Her presence filled the room like a living force, both terrifying and mesmerizing. Ryan could hardly breathe, yet he refused to look away. Something about her gaze made him feel both judged and chosen. "You are not like the others who came before," she said softly, her voice echoing like wind through crystal. Ryan blinked, unsure if he was hearing her words or feeling them inside his mind. He wanted to speak, but his throat felt dry. Finally, he managed to whisper, "Others?" The queen turned her head slightly, her long white hair floating like mist around her. "Many have entered this place," she said. "Hunters, thieves, kings, and conquerors." Her tone grew colder. "All of them desired my power, and all of them failed." Ryan swallowed hard, taking a careful step forward. "Then why am I still alive?" he asked. Her silver eyes studied him for a long moment before she spoke again. "Because the throne has chosen you." He frowned, confused. "The throne?" The queen lifted her hand, and the black stone throne behind her began to glow. The symbols across its surface moved like living light, forming patterns that pulsed with rhythm. Ryan felt something inside him stir, a warmth in his chest. "Like a second heartbeat, it reacts to your presence," the queen said, her voice quiet but filled with meaning. "That has never happened before." Ryan stared at the throne, trying to understand what she meant. The glow grew stronger the closer he stepped, until the air between him and the throne buzzed like static. He hesitated. "What happens if I touch it?" The queen's expression darkened slightly. "If you are unworthy, it will destroy you," she said. "If you are worthy, it will change you forever." Ryan took a deep breath. Something inside him whispered that this was the reason he had come, not for treasure or technology, but for something bigger, something he couldn't name. He reached his hand toward the throne. The moment his fingers touched the surface, a surge of energy shot through his arm. He gasped, falling to one knee, light spilling across his skin like fire. The throne responded, glowing brighter, and the entire room began to hum. The queen stepped back, her eyes wide with shock. "Impossible," she whispered. "The human is sinking with the throne." Ryan gritted his teeth, pain and power flowing through every nerve in his body. Visions exploded behind his eyes. Alien worlds, vast battles, galaxies burning, and the queen herself standing above it all. He saw the rise and fall of empires, and a moment when humanity was still just a whisper among the stars. Then suddenly, he saw himself standing beside the queen on a battlefield of light. Their hands joined as the universe trembled. The visions vanished, leaving him gasping for air. The glow faded slowly, and the room fell silent again. The queen looked at him with a mix of awe and disbelief. "You saw it, didn't you?" she asked. Ryan nodded weakly, still trembling. "Yes," he said. "I saw everything." The queen stepped closer, her voice softer now. "You touched what no mortal should," she said. "The throne of Celestera holds the memory of all creation." Ryan looked up at her, confusion and wonder mixing in his eyes. "Then why me?" he asked. "Why would it choose a human?" She smiled faintly, though there was sadness in her expression. "Perhaps because your kind has what mine lost long ago," she said. "Hope." Ryan blinked, not expecting that answer. "Hope?" he repeated. The queen nodded slowly, her gaze drifting toward the glowing patterns on the floor. "My people became gods in our own eyes," she said. "We built wonders and destroyed everything we could not control." She looked back at him. "But you still dream?" Ryan felt something shift inside him for the first time. The queen didn't seem like a distant goddess. She seemed almost human. "Maybe we're not so different," he said quietly. Her eyes softened. "Perhaps not," she replied. A low rumble shook the chamber again. Ryan turned sharply, his helmet sensors flashing red. Multiple energy signatures appeared outside the throne room. Growing stronger by the second, the Queen's face hardened. Her calm replaced by cold focus. "They have come," she said. "The loyalists of the old empire, drawn by the throne's awakening." She raised her hand, and a shimmering shield formed around the room. "They will not stop," she said. "They will destroy everything to keep me sealed." Ryan stood beside her, gripping his weapon. "Then we fight," he said. The Queen glanced at him, and for a moment, a spark of respect lit her eyes. "You are brave, human," she said. "Let us see if you are also strong." Outside, the ground split open as alien war machines rose from beneath the surface. The chamber lights flickered, and the throne began to glow again. Linking its energy to the Queen's body, she stood tall, radiant and powerful. Her hair swirling like white fire, Ryan took a deep breath, standing beside her as the floor trembled beneath their feet. In that instant, he realized he was no longer just an explorer. He was part of something much greater, a story written in the stars. And this was only the beginning. The battle outside the throne room ended in silence. Smoke and energy waves drifted through the ruins like ghosts of war. Ryan stood beside the Queen, his armor cracked, his pulse racing, his heart pounding in his chest. He had fought against creatures beyond his understanding, and yet he was still standing. The Queen lowered her hand, her glowing eyes fading slightly as the barrier around them dissolved. Her power filled the air like heat after lightning. Ryan looked at her, breathing heavily. "Is it over?" he asked, his voice low. The Queen shook her head slowly. "It has only begun," she said. The floor of the chamber glowed faintly, and the symbols on the walls started to shift again, forming a spiral of light. The Queen stepped closer to the center and placed her hand on one of the glowing runes. A circular pattern of energy rose from the floor, surrounding them both. Ryan felt a strange warmth spread through his body, like gentle waves washing over him. "What is this?" he asked. The Queen looked at him, her expression calm yet distant. "This is the memory of my people," she said softly. "The throne of Celestera connects all who touch it, mind to mind, soul to soul." Ryan blinked, unsure what she meant. Then he felt it, images flashing inside his head. He saw her world as it once was, filled with light and music, her people walking among stars. He saw her crowned before thousands, her beauty unmatched, her voice echoing across galaxies. And then he saw darkness, betrayal, and war, her people turning against her, sealing her within this tomb of stone and silence. Ryan gasped and stumbled backward, his heart breaking from what he felt. He wasn't just seeing her past, and he was feeling it. Every emotion, every wound, every tear. The Queen's eyes glowed softly, reflecting sadness rather than pride. "You see now," she said. "Even immortality carries pain." Ryan looked at her differently now. She was no longer just an alien ruler, not just a legend. She was a being who had lost everything. And somehow, through fate or accident, he was the one who had awakened her. "I'm sorry," he whispered. She tilted her head slightly. "Humans apologize too easily," she said, though her tone was gentle. "Pain is not a burden. It is a teacher." The energy around them flickered. Ryan reached out instinctively, placing his hand on her arm. The moment he touched her, the light surged again, brighter this time. The Queen's eyes widened slightly, but she didn't move away. A strange connection sparked between them. It was deeper than words, older than either of them understood. He felt her heartbeat, slow, steady, powerful, and she felt his unfast, nervous, alive, two rhythms merging into one for a moment. The ancient throne chamber disappeared, replaced by visions of stars, flowing light, and endless sky. The Queen spoke softly, her voice almost human now. "Do you know what this means, human?" Ryan shook his head, unable to speak. "It means the bond has chosen you," she said. "The throne recognizes us as one." Her words sent chills down his spine. "What does that mean?" he asked. "It means," she said, "our fates are now tied. If I die, you die, and if you live, my power lives with you." Ryan stared at her in disbelief. "Why me?" he asked again. The Queen's eyes softened. "Because you were not afraid," she said. "Because you came not for power, but for purpose." Outside, thunder rolled through the ruined city. The ground trembled again, distant engines approaching, armies awakening. The Queen turned toward the sound, her expression hardening. "They are coming," she said. "The loyalist will not stop until the throne is silent again." Ryan tightened his grip on his weapon. "Then we fight again," he said. The Queen looked at him with quiet admiration. "There is courage in you," she said, "and something more. Something I cannot name." For the first time, she stepped closer, her hand brushing against his shoulder. It was not the touch of a ruler to a servant. It was something different. Something that spoke of respect and perhaps something deeper. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "If we survive this, human, you will see what lies beyond stars." Ryan met her gaze. And though he didn't understand everything, he felt something unexplainable in that moment. A connection beyond fear, beyond reason, something that tied them together like destiny. He nodded. "I'll stand with you," he said. The Queen's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Then the universe may yet have hope," she whispered. The symbols on the walls began to spin faster, the energy in the air rising once more. A distant explosion echoed through the corridors as the enemies drew closer. The Queen raised her hand, summoning her ancient armor, pieces of silver metal that formed around her body like flowing light. She looked at Ryan, her eyes glowing brighter than before. "Together," she said. He nodded again, his heart steady. "Together," he replied. As the floor beneath them cracked open and light poured in from below, Ryan realized that the bond they shared was not a curse. It was a spark, something powerful, ancient, and forbidden. And as the alien warships filled the sky, he understood the truth. He had not just entered her world, he had become part of it, and nothing in the universe would ever be the same again. The alien skies burned red as the ancient city of Celestera shook beneath the weight of approaching warships. Ryan stood beside the Queen at the heart of the throne chamber, his breath steady but his mind racing. He could feel the energy of their forbidden bond pulsing through his veins. Linking his heartbeat to hers, every surge of her power echoed inside him, and every breath he took made her eyes glow brighter. Outside, the air trembled with the roar of alien engines. The Queen's army, what little remained of it, stood waiting on the shattered plains beyond the temple. They were loyal to her bloodline, but they were few. Against them came the fleet of the High General, the one who had once sworn to protect her. The Queen turned to Ryan, her silver armor reflecting the dim blue light of the chamber. Her voice was calm but heavy with unspoken pain. "His name is Valor," she said. "My greatest warrior, my most trusted friend." Until the day he betrayed me, Ryan listened, his grip tightening around his plasma rifle. "Why did he betray you?" he asked. The Queen's eyes darkened. "Because he feared me," she said quietly. "He feared what I might become, what power might do to one who ruled across galaxies." Her gaze drifted toward the horizon, where the first ship descended like a black shadow. "And now," she whispered, "he comes to finish what he began." The air split apart with thunder as beams of light struck the city. Ryan shielded his eyes, the heat searing even through his armor. When he looked up, massive figures dropped from the sky, alien soldiers in obsidian armor, their faces hidden behind dark masks. They surrounded the temple, weapons glowing with strange crimson energy. The Queen lifted her hand and the air shimmered with power. A dome of light spread across the chamber, blocking the first wave of fire. Ryan stood beside her, firing into the smoke, the sound echoing like thunder. The enemy fell, but more kept coming, wave after wave. And then the great door of the throne room burst open. A tall figure stepped through the flames. He was dressed in black armor marked with golden symbols of command. His eyes burned bright with the same blue fire as the Queen's. "Valor," she whispered, her voice filled with both anger and sorrow. The general's voice was deep and cold. "My Queen," he said mockingly. "You should have stayed asleep." His gaze fell on Ryan, his expression twisting with disgust. "And you, human, you dare stand beside her? You pollute what remains of our legacy." Ryan aimed his weapon, but the Queen raised her hand slightly. "Do not," she said quietly. "This is not your battle." But Ryan shook his head. "It became my battle the moment I stepped into this room," he said. Valor laughed, a sound like breaking metal. "So the throne has chosen you," he said. "I can feel its pulse through your bond, human. But you do not deserve it." Before the Queen could respond, he struck. A wave of red energy shot from his hand. Shattering part of the wall, Ryan dove aside, the impact knocking him to the ground. The Queen raised her staff, deflecting the next attack with a flash of silver light. The two ancient powers clashed, light and shadow colliding, Shaking the entire temple, Ryan tried to rise, but the pressure was immense. He could barely move as waves of energy crackled across the floor. Every strike from the Queen lit up the darkness, and every counterattack from Valor brought the chamber closer to ruin. Then Ryan felt it. A pulse of fear from the Queen through their bond. She was powerful, but she was not at full strength yet. He could sense her energy fading, her connection to the throne weakening without thinking. He ran toward the center of the chamber. He placed his hands on the throne again, feeling its energy flood into him like fire. The Queen's eyes widened. "No, Ryan, stop!" she shouted. But it was too late. The light spread from him, linking directly to her for a brief second. Their hearts beat as one, and her power returned tenfold. Valor stumbled back, his armor cracking under the wave of energy. The Queen raised her hand and sent a bolt of silver light that struck his chest. The explosion shook the temple, sending shards of crystal flying through the air. Valor fell to one knee, his mask breaking, revealing a scarred face twisted with fury and regret. "You would destroy your own kind for him?" He growled. The Queen's eyes glistened. "I would destroy everything that threatens what remains of hope," she said. Valor laughed weakly. "Then you are no queen," he whispered. He pressed a small device on his wrist, and the floor beneath them began to glow red. Ryan looked down, realizing what it was. A self-destruct core. The entire chamber was about to collapse. The Queen moved instantly, wrapping her arms around Ryan. A burst of energy enveloped them both as the world exploded in light. The temple crumbled stone by stone, until only silence remained when the dust cleared. The ruins were empty. Valor was gone, his army retreating into the smoke. But deep beneath the surface, hidden by the throne's magic, the Queen and Ryan opened their eyes. They were alive, but everything above them was gone. The Queen leaned weakly against the broken wall. Her voice was soft, almost human. "He has taken everything from me again," she said. Ryan looked at her, his voice steady but full of promise. "Then we take it back," he said. She met his eyes, a faint smile on her lips despite the pain. "Perhaps, human," she whispered. "You were sent to do what even gods could not." The bond between them glowed faintly in the darkness. The war had just begun, but something stronger than power now connected them. Trust. And in that bond, a spark of rebellion was born, one that would soon shake the stars themselves. He swallowed hard. "If I go back," he said slowly, "you'll die, won't you?" The Queen looked away. "The throne's power cannot exist in two worlds," she said. "If you return, my light will fade and I will become nothing more than memory." The silence between them grew heavy. Ryan stared at the floor, his mind spinning. He wanted to save his world, but every time he looked at her, he felt something deeper, something that told him he was part of something far greater than Earth. The Queen stood, her strength slowly returning, the glow around her growing stronger again. She turned toward the ancient symbols carved into the wall and touched them gently. The stone shimmered and a portal of light appeared before them, swirling like liquid glass. "This is your path home," she said, her voice steady now. "Step through and you will return to your people with knowledge no human has ever carried." She paused, her eyes softening. "Stay and you will walk a path that no one has ever dared." Ryan stared at the glowing portal, its light reflecting in his eyes. He imagined stepping through it, seeing the sky of Earth again, hearing the voices of his friends, feeling the warmth of the sun. But then he looked at her, the Queen standing in the light, her expression calm but her eyes hiding something she could not say. He realized he couldn't leave her to face this war alone. He couldn't walk away from the destiny that had chosen him. "I don't belong there anymore," he said quietly. The Queen's eyes widened slightly. "You would stay?" she asked, her voice trembling just enough for him to notice. Ryan nodded. "Earth will survive without me," he said. "But you won't survive without someone who believes in you." For a moment, she said nothing. Then a single tear, bright as silver light, rolled down her cheek. "Humans," she whispered. "You always choose the impossible." Ryan smiled faintly. "Maybe that's why we're still alive," he said. The Queen stepped closer, placing her hand over his heart. The bond between them pulsed brighter, and the room filled with warm light. She spoke softly, her voice carrying the weight of a promise. "Then your fate is sealed, human, from this moment. You are no longer just one of your kind." Her fingers traced the glowing mark on his chest. "You are the guardian of Celestera." Ryan felt a rush of energy flood his body. Light, sound, memory, power, everything merging into him like fire and wind. Visions of the stars flashed in his mind. New worlds waiting, ancient enemies rising. He understood what it meant now. The throne had chosen him not just to awaken her, but to fight beside her. The ground shook as another explosion echoed in the distance. The queen looked up, her eyes burning with determination again. "Valor will not stop," she said. "He will gather every force he can. And the next war will not destroy only this world, and it will reach yours too." Ryan nodded, standing tall beside her. "Then we end it," he said. "Together," she replied, her voice firm and filled with quiet fire. The light from the portal faded, sealing the way home forever above them. The sky of Celestara began to heal, stars appearing one by one like distant embers of hope. As they walked toward the rising light, side by side, Ryan knew he had made his choice. Not the easy one, not the safe one, but the one that would decide the fate of two worlds. And somewhere deep in the stars, destiny itself watched and waited. The sky above Celestara glowed like molten glass, torn between darkness and dawn. Ryan and the queen stood on the highest spire of the ruined city, looking toward the horizon where the enemy fleet gathered like a storm of shadows. The air trembled with energy, the taste of ozone and fear mixing in every breath. Beneath their feet, the ancient throne pulsed with quiet power, the heartbeat of a world reborn. Ryan tightened the straps of his armor, his hands shaking not from fear but from purpose. He had made his choice, and there was no turning back. The queen watched him, her silver eyes reflecting the rising light of the twin suns. "You still have time to regret this," she said softly. Ryan smiled faintly. "Too late for that," he replied. A soft breeze carried the sound of distant thunder, the voice of war calling them. The queen raised her hand, and the energy around her formed into living armor, pure light shaped into strength. Ryan could feel her presence inside his mind through their bond. Calm, fierce, and unyielding. For the first time since leaving Earth, he felt complete. Then the sky split open. Dozens of enemy ships descended like falling stars, firing beams of crimson light that cut across the land. The queen lifted both arms and the throne's energy surged upward, forming a massive shield of blue fire that wrapped the entire city. The explosion struck the barrier and shattered into harmless sparks. "Impressive," Ryan whispered, but how long can it hold?" "As long as we do," she answered, her tone steady as stone. The ground rumbled as metallic claws tore through the soil. War machines crawling from beneath. Thousands of soldiers followed, dark figures armed with glowing spears, their armor reflecting the queen's light. Ryan loaded his weapon and glanced at her. "Looks like we've got company." She nodded, the faintest smile playing on her lips. "Then let us greet them properly." The first wave hit hard. Ryan fought like a storm, his rifle glowing with alien energy, every shot guided by the bond he shared with her. The queen moved beside him, her every motion a dance of light and power. Together they became unstoppable, a human heart and an alien god bound by fate. But the battle only grew darker. In the distance, Valor appeared again, his armor reforged, his eyes burning red with rage and madness. He raised his weapon toward the sky, drawing power from the fleet above. The clouds cracked open as a beam of pure destruction formed, aimed at the throne itself. The queen's voice echoed across the battlefield. "Valor, stop this madness." But he only laughed. "You were meant to be eternal," he shouted. "And now you will end with him." The beam fired, cutting through the air like the wrath of gods. Ryan ran forward without thinking, his body moving faster than thought. He reached the throne and spread his arms wide as the light struck. Pain tore through him, white and endless. The energy burned everything, his armor, his body, his memories, but still he stood. The queen screamed his name, her voice shaking the stars themselves. She ran toward him, her power surging beyond control. Her eyes blazed like twin suns as she absorbed the energy from his body through their bond. In that moment, they were one, human and alien, mortal and eternal, life and light. The explosion that followed could be seen from orbit. When the light faded, silence covered Celestara. The enemy fleet hung motionless, their systems dead, their power gone. Valor's armor cracked open, and he fell to his knees, whispering, "Impossible." Before vanishing into dust, the queen stood at the center of the throne chamber, the ruins glowing softly around her. Ryan lay at her feet, motionless, his armor shattered. She knelt beside him, her hand trembling as she touched his face. Through the bond, She could still feel a faint spark, weak but alive. "You gave everything," she whispered, "and because of that, humanity will rise again." The throne pulsed one last time, sending waves of light across the sky. The fleet above disintegrated into fragments that burned like falling stars. And as the world of Celestera began to heal, the Queen lifted Ryan into her arms. The light surrounded them both, soft and endless. Centuries later, explorers from Earth would find a monument on the planet's surface. Two figures carved in silver stone, standing side by side, facing the stars. No one remembered their names, but every child on Earth knew the legend. They called it the Bond of Light. The story of the human who entered the alien queen's forbidden throne room and changed the fate of both species forever. And somewhere beyond the edge of time, their souls still traveled together, guardians of light, keepers of hope, protectors of every world that dared to dream.